Welcome back to episode 2 of a super conversation about the Superman franchise. I'm Korbin Zvokel,
I'm Jackson Mahuron.
and today we are talking about Superman 2, and we're doing it super fast. 10 minutes on the clock. 3, 2, 1. Timer's rolling. This movie not as good as the first installment in the
No.
Christopher Reeve run. I think it's got a lot of weird pacing issues, and also it has a very troubled production that I think we can kind of get into to the start. We didn't watch the Richard Donner cut, but essentially what happened
Hmm.
was they tried to shoot both movies simultaneously, the first and the second.
Yeah. That's why they appear, like the villains appear in the first movie too, with
Yeah, it's
Zod
all
and like
set
his
up.
crew. Yeah. And then they kind of rehash it again, which sucks. Like the pacing is weird for that too, to like just bring it back to that with the montage.
I will say they should have learned. Tom Cruise, Mission Impossible, maybe don't take on too much more than you can chew at once. Don't endeavor to
Hmm.
do too much. But they shut down after shooting 75% of this movie originally because Richard Donner just kind of disagreed. There was too much oversight from the producers, and he was unable to do what he wanted to. They then reshot pretty much all the scenes that he had shot, so to ensure that Richard Lester was the actual director. Um, but it feels strange. It feels a little bit lifeless. Some people didn't want to come back because of what happened there. You don't get any Brando. It's all his mom talking. Why doesn't this movie work for you?
For so many reasons. I think the pacing is like a big issue. Like it feels like a slog a lot of the way. Like a lot of the stuff is also like very bits and pieces. Like the Paris introduction is like a Lester edition that like doesn't really make sense. At one
A cool
point,
idea,
Superman
like
loses his powers. Yeah, yeah,
Eiffel
totally.
Tower,
Like
but
Lois, yeah,
it doesn't
Lois
work.
getting into trouble, getting saved. It just doesn't really work there. Um, Lex is like fine in this. Like he has like small moments where he's not the main focus, and like his introduction and inclusion is basically unnecessary to begin with. Um, yeah, it's okay.
I
Do you have
know
like a favorite
Lester.
aspect of it?
I, I favorite is tough. I think the resulting it's really tough because I love the Lois Clark stuff in the first movie, and I think it sucks a lot in this
Hmm.
movie. Um,
It's tough, yeah. It definitely takes a dive. I think what's strong about it is when like Lois has her suspicions that he's Superman and is
right.
like kind of throwing herself into danger to like try to coax him to reveal himself. I think that's a really interesting like challenge of her and like really kind of like puts her character like on equal footing as him as like she's kind of trying to figure him out. I think that's like the strongest aspect of this. Um,
And I think
yeah.
it's unfortunate because then like they make the discovery, they declare their love for each other. Instantly, he like turns himself immortal, flashes the red sun on himself. They have their
Yes.
one night of passion, and then like because of where the our three villains, the trio of
Hmm.
Kryptonians, and like the path that's been charted for them, like they're at that point in the White House taking over
Yeah.
with the president. So it's like he instantly has to get his powers back. I almost think you need to like lop a lot of the first half of the movie off, have
He
him
doesn't
just
meet
like
them.
figure it
Yeah,
out.
for a long time. Yeah.
I
It's
don't
it's
care
kind of
about them
wild
like
that
terrorizing a small town. Like you don't need that.
yeah, it's like a lot of like interaction. Like this would never happen in like a modern superhero movie for better or worse, where like a bunch of unnamed characters are just interacting with villains all the time and like you get to see like the civilian's perspective. It definitely is a drag in this. Like and it doesn't work like whereas like a Sam Raimi like Spider-Man movie would work with that. But um it is what it is. Like the whole bit where he like loses his powers and then gets into a bar fight in Alaska is like super fun and like stupid, and he gets his ass kicked, and then of course he needs to get his
Gets to come
powers
back.
back, and you're like, oh, how's he gonna do this? And then kind of just the next scene he has his power. So like he goes on a little hitchhiking journey, and I guess like in the like Richard Donner interpretation, like it was supposed to be like Jor-El's hologram was gonna like sacrifice himself in some way to give him his powers back, which is fine. I don't hate that. I think it just ended up being like Lois dropped the crystal in the Fortress of Solitude, and somehow that crystal being left behind gave him his powers.
Yeah.
Really
They
stupid,
they
really
like they do a
silly.
shot of the crystal and you're like, okay, yeah, sick.
Yeah. And like, yeah, just like the whole Phantom Zone stuff is kind of fun in this, just because like it is like an interesting lore aspect of his character of like, would Superman be for this idea of like punishment without rehabilitation, like
Mm,
this permanent punishment
get trapped
in
in a
this
mirror.
world? I think it's kind of, yeah, it's like it's very trippy how they, yeah, display it too. And then of course like the hydrogen bomb getting pushed into space being the thing that like breaks him out is so silly too. Yeah,
Yeah,
just kind of
it
appreciate
is
that.
very like, okay, yeah, the first thing he does in this movie is gonna unleash the villains right away. That's pretty
Yeah.
handy. They've just got a nuke. Um, let's talk about the lore because there's I feel like some things that are changed about like Superman in this movie, and I wanted to really just ask
Hmm.
you. First of all, like these guys' powers, they've got like telekinesis and shit, and they're like grabbing
Yeah,
stuff
what
with
is
their
this?
eyeballs. Whoa,
They have
is
different
that new?
powers.
I don't know.
No, or I mean, it is new as far as like I don't think of it to
Just
be
Zod
canon.
is
The like
just for some reason could do
telekinetic,
that. Okay.
yeah, so silly.
What about when he like throws his insignia on a guy?
I I don't, to my knowledge, this is not like a mainstream comic book canon thing. I'm sure in some like 1970s
Well, the
comic
thing is,
book it
like once
maybe
they do in
happened
the movie,
once.
then you're like, okay, well, let's do it in the comic book. And then
It's
of
kind of
course,
fun. It's stupid for sure, but like in
I
like the
don't mind
campy
that.
like 80s way, I didn't mind it either,
The thing that
as
I
dumb
do
as it
hate
is.
is the amnesia kiss. Why, why does he
That is
have?
insane. I agree. Yeah,
Why does he
the
have the
amnesia kiss is
power
crazy.
to do that? And why is it introduced in this film? And then I think it becomes
Why
other
does it
times,
have to
but
be a
only as a reference to
kiss?
this. Yeah, it's
Yeah, like the
very,
kiss aspect
you
of it is
know,
kind of scary. Like, what if they just touch
I
foreheads and
wanted
it
to
happened?
call
I.
out something you said in our intro. You mentioned
Hmm.
the great thing about Superman is he has all this power, but he always uses it in the correct way. And I would argue in this movie, he uses it in the wrong way.
And I will say again, the movies are not a good representation of Superman in a lot of ways, and this is definitely one of them. I think it's out of character. I think Lois would protest this idea. I don't think of her as someone who would just be sad that like, he has to go off and do some action because she's Lois Lane. She's got like a whole schedule full of shit she has to go do. She is not this like they kind of portray her at the end of that as like someone without agency and like the concern like worries her. It's like, no, she doesn't give a fuck. Small, like that's Smallville. He's gonna
Yeah.
go off and do his thing and he'll be fine. Like I think that is very out of character in general. Like that whole sequence
Yeah,
is
the
ridiculous. And
entire
I.
ending is bad where he like flies with her and he's like, I won't be gone, and he goes and returns the thing to the white. Like it all just feels rushed and changed up at the
Mhm.
last minute with like weird ADR, and then yeah, he makes her forget. It's just
Yeah, it's just not where I want them to end up. I must have mixed up at some point. She tries to out him again. So like I think it comes back. I don't think I saw something too crazy, but yeah, like so that like that stuff is really weird. Like the fact that he trips into the fire is like ridiculous. It's like the reveal that
yeah,
he's,
she jumps on into Niagara Falls
invincible.
and then he falls
He
into the
doesn't
fire.
cave there. Yeah, because like you're supposed to assume, and this is a big issue I have with the Christopher Reeve portrayal of Superman, is that Clark and Superman are kind of these two different personas. I don't subscribe to that. I do think they are more one person, and they might like exaggerate some things. But like, if his character is clumsy, he shouldn't actually be clumsy. So like, why would he actually like? He shouldn't actually fall into the fire unless he's doing
Right?
it
Why
on
would you do
purpose. It just
something
doesn't make sense to
that's
me.
could risk? You could fall, but you could
Yeah.
fall in the perfect way to not fall into a fire.
Exactly, exactly. Like you've caught a bullet before and made it look like you just fainted and like didn't. You know what I mean? Like you've done some insane feats. Like
Right,
it
because
just
you could
doesn't work in
have
the same way. And also
superpowers
just
but
like,
not be. Yeah, it does make sense.
yeah, he just doesn't do a lot in this movie either. Like in the first movie, he saves a helicopter and he gets a cat out of a tree and like he has this grand interview with Lois. And in this, it just like is mostly you're watching Zod run around and like beat up nobodies that you don't really care about.
Yeah, it's a lot of like, hey, we're going to big famous things, Paris, Niagara Falls. We're going to flash that in the first half, and then the final battle in the city where he runs off, I find extremely strange. Where like the people are just like, Superman's leaving us, and then he obviously has to like pull his tricks and everything. Any final thoughts about this movie?
I mean, it gets worse before it gets better, is what I'll say, in this series. But overall, I think there are some pieces that work, and that's all you can do.
Hackman missing for a big chunk in the middle, where it's just like, oh, where'd he go? And
Hmm.
then he just shows up at the White House, which I think is
With his wig.
unfortunate for sure. The astronauts thing. Did you catch the thing where the guy was like, I'm engaged with the? There's gay astronauts in this
Yeah.
movie.
Oh,
Very
really?
strange.
Okay, fun.
And he kills them.
Cool. And then they get killed. So what does that say?
But I think
You
it's like
know?
a bad joke about Russians. I don't know. We're done. Stop. Oh, my timer won't stop going.